Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Give a thumbs up if you can hear me, please. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. All right. Awesome, Sheriff. All right. So we're going to start in 3 minutes, right? We're trying to see how we can wait for more people to sign up. I mean, they're already registered, but they're trying to just get in. So we'll just wait for 3 more minutes. Okay. So, yeah. So we'll start at 10 minutes past 12.
So, queda internet.
Hello, Samuel. Kindly mute your mic. Okay, thank you. So while we wait for others to join in, I just want to give a warm welcome to attendees here that have taken their time out, to level up in their career and, just boost your professional journey. Yeah, so a big shout out to Ashanafi, Kikelomo, Oladimeji Samuel, and Simi. You're welcome. So we're going to begin soon. Just a minute more. Hi, everyone. All right, we're about to begin. So once again, you're welcome to our first webinar series for the year. Yes, so this is DUG Lagos, and of course, DUG means Dynamics User Group. But before I introduce Dynamics User Group, I would like to introduce some of the executives here that are present here. Some of them are not here yet, but of course I know that they're going to be here as well. So I'll start, of course, by introducing coordinator Sheriff Busari. Sheriff, it's awesome to have you here. It's also awesome to have Oluwafemi Dada, the amazing Femi. Femi, thank you for being here as well. I mean, these people are really doing great work in the community. And of course, our speaker for today, Timileyin Oluborode. I hope I pronounced that well. Yeah, so Timileyin, thank you, of course. I mean, I'm sure today's series and today's webinar is going to be awesome. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you for what you do for the community as well. And also we have Oluwatosin Adepoju. She's not here at the moment, but of course she'll be here. Yeah, and then also we have our secretary, Oluwatobiloba Fatusen, who will be here too. And I speaking here, of course, is Joan Onachuku. So welcome once again to our first webinar series for the year. Today we're going to be learning understanding Power BI in enterprise IT, of course, how it's used, governing, monitoring and deployment strategies of Power BI in enterprise IT. But before we begin, I would like to, of course, introduce Dynamics User Group and let you know what Dynamics User Group is about. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. So give me a moment, okay? Give me a thumbs up, please, if you can hear me. Hello? Okay, awesome. Yes, I just wanted to get that or so I can be sure that we can hear, then move on. I'm going to be sharing my screen soon. Kindly indicate if you can see my screen, please. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see your screen, June.
All right. Yeah. So Sheriff, please can be admitting people that are coming in because I notice people are coming. All right. So
Yeah,
once
sure.
again, you're welcome to DUG Lagos. Now, DUG is not just a local organization, of course. It cuts across local and international as well. So, of course, you're with DUG Lagos, but we have also other Dynamics user groups across Nigeria and outside the country as well. So I'm just going to be giving you a brief history of DUG, of course, and how and what we are about. So meet Dynamics User Group, of course. We believe in building community, we believe in connection, and we believe in education. Our story, of course, Dynamics User Group was founded in 1995. And of course, it began as an online discussion forum at first, but now it has expanded into so much more. We have so many training programs. We have interactive virtual and in-person events. Like what we're having right now is a virtual event, right? We also have regional meetups as well. I mean, towards the end of this introduction, you understand what I'm trying to say. And we have sponsorships opportunities as well. So, of course, the community is free. As far as you have registered, you're part of the community. But of course, as time goes on, towards the end, after this webinar series, we also get an email that can, bring you into our WhatsApp group, introduce you to our Instagram group, and the other social media handles, of course, that we have. So DUG, the free communities for users of Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. So if you are a Dynamics user, use Microsoft Dynamics at work, this is for you. If you work with Power Platform, Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, this is for you. Okay, and it's also for implementers, of course, and resellers of Microsoft business applications. So yeah, next slide. What are our rules of engagement? Over here, we believe in being cautious. Of course, if you want to, you can contribute to the meeting. It's always an interactive session. I mean, after today's webinar, you're going to be asked, you're going to be given an opportunity to ask questions, and those questions will be answered as well. And so please, you're free to participate. Okay, so what are meetups? Meetup is a place where we connect with Microsoft Dynamics and Power Platform, at a regional level. For DUG Lagos, we have our regional meetups, most times twice in a year. So we're going to be having one towards the middle of the year. Yes. So we'll meet up here with DUG Lagos, and then we can learn together. It's a time to bond. It's a time to learn something new, but it's also physical. So you have like a more one-on-one connection with other people. Also a time to network and share your ideas. So of course, in DUG Lagos, your actions actually matter. So use this opportunity as a time to educate yourself and to grow your network, okay? So we have different Dynamics user group programs. So of course, I had mentioned earlier that being a member of DUG is free, so that's what it's about. And I mean, it cuts across Business Central, customer engagement, finance and supply chain, Dynamics GP, and Power Platform. We have free online open forum discussions internationally, of course, where you can go and ask any questions, and there are experts there to help you with your questions relating to Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. I had mentioned earlier that we have virtual events as well. So yes, there are also free virtual events that you can attend. And we have DUG conferences, which we call DynamicsCon Live in-person events. Most of the time, it's usually outside the country, most of the time, United States of America. So if you're able to attend, you can attend. And we have regional meetups, of course, that we do locally, of course. And of course, we have the DUG team up, where solutions and services from ISVs and partners. So there's something we do where we actually work with partners, people that partner with Microsoft, So it's very easy. If you just assume you want to get a Microsoft software or product, I mean, that's how that works. And then we have our Skill Up, our on-demand training sessions. Sorry, let me just admit somebody here. Yeah. So we have our on-demand training classes from various fields, of course, by Microsoft experts. And of course, DUG is on YouTube. So we have DUG internationally on YouTube, and we also have DUG Lagos on YouTube. So if you notice, this session is being recorded, because after that, we're going to put it on our YouTube. So you could go back there to, refresh your memory. I mean, if you've forgotten something, or if you need to learn something new, you can share it and send to your friends and other techies. Yes, so for the year of 2025, as I had mentioned, we are going to be having regional DUG meetups. Now, amazingly, we're going to be having one in West Africa this year. Yeah, but I'm going to start from the Northeast. So we're having one in Philadelphia, United States of America. That's North America. We're having one in Canada. That's about June 16th, 17th in Toronto. We have one in West Africa, just Ghana here. So it's really amazing. I mean, I'm very excited about it. It's going to be taking place July 19th, 2025, and one in East Africa in Nairobi, Kenya. So we're also having one in the Neva, Rocky Mountain. We have one in Ohio Valley in Dublin. Yeah, we have also a European tour in Copenhagen. That's amazing. And we have one in Texas as well. So there's so many regional meetups, we're having this year. But I mean, since for those of us in Nigeria, the West Africa one is here. It's my cursor, and you can attend that. For those of us in East Africa, here is Kenya. So yeah. So there's so much. And of course, we're going to be having an amazing DynamicsCon event that takes place every year. And we're having it this year in Chicago, May 13th to 16th, 2025. So yes, you're welcome once again to Dynamics User Group Lagos. And yeah, that's what we are about. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. I'm going to be introducing our speaker. His name is Timilane Uruburde, and he's going to be teaching or training on Power BI in enterprise IT, governance, monitoring, and deployment strategies. So Timilane, you have the floor now. Thank you. Hello, Timilane.
All right. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So just like John has rightly said, we would be discussing a very interesting topic today, right? And I will try as much as possible to make it very simple for us to walk through and quite interesting. All right. So I understand that, maybe not all of us are also maybe Power BI. Maybe not all people are Power BI, focused people. However, I believe that we will take a lesson or two from this section. All right. So once again, welcome everybody. Please, if at any point you can't hear me or my slides are not moving, please just let me know. Effectively, thank you. All right. So basically, what are we going to be discussing? We would start with an introduction to Power BI in enterprise IT. Right. We would talk around governance. We'll talk around governance. We'll talk about monitoring Power BI usage and performance. We'll talk about effective deployment strategies, best practices, and common pitfalls. And then we would conclude. All right, so let's begin the journey. All right, so on that introduction, we would just have a little introduction to Power BI, right? I believe that a lot of us here are already, with the use of analytics tools, not only Power BI, right? Just a little introduction. And then we want to answer the question of why enterprises need analytics. Now, I put analytics here, right? But I also understand that not all organizations, use Power BI, right? But analytics is very important, right? So Power BI is a tool analytics, all right? So I didn't necessarily put it as why enterprises need Power BI alone, although, I'm more partial towards Power BI, right? But of course, organizations need analytics as a whole. And then what are the key challenges in large-scale deployment? All right, so let's get into it. So, as a way of introduction, what is Power BI? Like I said, this is something that I believe that we are used to. All right, Power BI is a business intelligence tool for data visualization and analytics. All right, it's a BI tool, like we like to call it. It's a BI tool for data visualization and analytics. It also enables interactive dashboards and one of the benefits of Power BI or key advantages of Power BI as compared to, some other analytics tool would be that it allows for interactive dashboards and reporting. by this, basically, you can share your live dashboard, you can share your live reports, and yourself and your colleagues or whoever it is that will be working on the data can interact together on that particular. Now, Power BI is also a tool that enables connect data is very important. Multiple data sources, right? I mean, name it. Power BI supports connection to multiple data sources, right? Now, Power BI supports self-service and enterprise level analytics, all right? And of course, our focus for today is enterprise level analytics, all right? It also offers cloud-based and on-premise deployment. That's Power BI service and Power BI report server. All right. So why do enterprises need analytics? Right? Data-driven decision making. I'm sure if they ask any of us, if they ask any of us, for instance, that what is data analysis, right? The number of times our definitions would usually revolve around, it's working with data to bring out insights towards making, decisions, quality decisions for organizations and all of those things, right? So that's very important. Enterprises need analytics because it helps them to make decisions, right? It helps them to make quality decisions, especially in this age where we have a lot of data flying around, right? Organizations are very, very critical on how their data is managed to bring out insights, all right? Enterprises need analytics because it helps integrate with their various data sources, just driving home the first point, to also, get data-driven decision. The third would be scalable and secure reporting. All right, scalable means that it's easy to work with, it's easy for you to navigate all your resources, it's secure, right? It's secure, right? Fourth would be, I'm trying to rush on this is not our focus, collaboration and sharing. All right, this is also important. Scale data modeling, right? So organizations would benefit all of this, right, when they decide to go for analytics. Now, what are the key challenges in large-scale deployments? A number of times it could be user and management. We'll still dive into this. It could be data security, performance optimization for large data sets, especially when you're talking enterprise organizations now. Like, they generate a large chunk of data, maybe per minute. I mean, the organizations that generate large chunks of data by the minute, right? And then another would be training and that I've seen. That's a major issue, training and user adoption, also managing multiple environments, especially when you're building the solution, maybe, especially if it's maybe a consultant building the solution for them, right? Balancing the development, testing, and production environments efficiently is a very, very critical thing, all right? And also integration with the existing systems. Sometimes these things could be very difficult, right? As much as, like I've mentioned, Power BI allows for connection to multiple data sources. If not properly understood, it could be quite challenging understanding how to integrate with existing systems. So let's dive in. So governance, right? Now we've spoken about Power BI. What exactly do we want to talk about as far as governance is concerned? Why governance, monitoring, and deployment are critical? All right, governance policies and compliance requirements, role-based access and security strategies, and data governance best practices. All right, so now I will start with a quote from Power BI. I'll start with a quote from Power BI best practices. Oh, sugar, sorry. And the quote says that without governance, Power BI can turn. Where's my slide? Sorry, just a minute. I'm not sure my slides are acting up. Just a minute, please.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So can we see my screen now?
Yes, I can see it now.
All right. Oh, thank you. So like I said, I'll start with this quote. It says, without governance, Power BI can turn from an enabler into a liability. Proper governance ensures trust in data, security, and scalability for enterprise-wide analytics. I'm going to read this again, and I want us to just, chunk it in, just, digest it. Without governance, Power BI can turn from an enabler. Like we said, this tool, right, should be a tool that helps us to chunk out insights, take out insights from our data, and make quality decisions. But without governance, this can become a liability, right? And so we say that proper governance can ensure trust in data, security, and scalability for enterprise-wide analytics. Very important. Okay, so next. So what is Power BI governance? What exactly is governance? Power BI governance. Sorry, just a minute again. I think I pressed something mistakenly. Sorry, just a minute. Yes. Okay. So Power BI governance is a structured framework for managing data, security access, compliance, and deployment within an organization's Power BI environment. It ensures that Power BI is used efficiently, securely, and at scale while maintaining data integrity, consistency, and compliance with regulatory requirements. All right. So it's a framework. I mean, I've seen that fly a whole lot in corporate organizations. You just hear the word framework, you hear the word compliance, right? And so, I mean, aside even Power BI, there are many things that require governance, right? But now we want to dive into Power BI governance. So we say that this is a structured framework for managing data, right? Of course, you know that data is very critical, right, to analysis. And so one of the things that an organization wants to do is even to manage the access to data. They want to manage their data, how their data is generated, how their data is collected, the different entry points, different databases. They want to manage it. They want to manage security. All right. They want to manage access. So you find out that not all data is available to all persons. Right. They want to manage compliance. I mean, for instance, there are some industries, there are some organizations that fall under certain industries, that those industries they have rules and regulations as far as the things coming out of the companies under them are to be done. So part of the things that those organizations even put into place when they are developing things like this will be compliance, because everything has to be done in complying with the it has to be done. So compliance deployment is very, very critical, right? And we say that this ensures that Power BI is used efficiently, securely, and at scale while maintaining data integrity, consistency, and compliance with regulatory requirements, right? There are regulations all over. right? All over. I mean, and for the Power BI guys amongst us now, right? I mean, if you have to deploy Power BI for an enterprise, this is part of the things you want to look out for, right? What are the regulations that guide this industry? What is the compliance framework, right? How far can you go? How far can you not go? Right? All these things are very important. Do you have a structured framework on ground? Because these things are very, very critical, right? They are very, very critical. The beauty of the job is not just to design a very beautiful dashboard, and at the end of the day, you find out that you've gone out of the regulatory requirements, right? So these things are very, very critical to note. Now, why is governance, monitoring, and deployment, why are they critical? Right? Why is it critical? Right? This is just like an overview. I mean, proper governance ensures compliance with regulations, right? Ensures compliance with regulations. Ensures compliance with regulations, right? We got with organizations like GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. All of these organizations, basically, their regulations, their compliance their compliance frameworks that have to be met, right? So usually, just to drive home this point again, you'll find out that in organizations, especially enterprise organizations, right, you will have someone like the chief digital officer, right, a CDO or a CIO, basically. A number of times, the work of a CIO or a CDO basically is not just to organize the IT team to run all of those things. No, part of the work of a CDO, a CIO is to ensure compliance with regulations. Right? Ensure compliance with regulations. You don't want your industry regulators coming into your organization and finding out that you are going out of the way. You are already, doing things that you should not be doing. That's going to be very, very bad for the organization, right? Why is monitoring important? Monitoring helps us to track performance, security, and adoption, right? And why is deployment strategies ensure seamless development to production transitions. Earlier, I spoke to one of the key challenges that deployment, which is integrating between the different environments from development to testing to production. That's very critical. So usually organizations will have deployment strategies already implemented, deployment strategies that help to seamlessly move these things from the places where they were developed to the eventual resting point. All right, so let's move now. Governance policies and compliance requirements, basically. So part of the things that I know that organizations do, right, as part of governance policies and compliance requirements, is that they would usually have something called data ownership and stewardship rules, right? This is something that I've seen, right? Data ownership and stewardship, especially in a large organizations where maybe there's a large number, there's so much, maybe there are multiple departments across board, right? Everybody has data being generated for their department. Everybody has data that they are relying on and all of those things. It's not possible for everybody to be interacting with the database. No, it's not possible. So usually what organizations would come up with, which is a part of governance, would be data ownership and stewardship rules, right? Now, and usually part of these things would be data owners, right? And data owners, of course, usually these roles would usually be sometimes select people in select teams, in select departments, right? Maybe usually they will just ask the departmental head to nominate one person, and usually it will be somebody who is data savvy, right? Nominate one person who would act in this role for your department, right? Just because, like I said, not everybody will have access. Not everybody should even have access. All right. And it's part of governance policies and compliance requirements. So data owners are responsible for accuracy, security, availability of data sets within Power BI, right? So a number of times business units or IT managers, these are data owners. So usually this sits mostly with the IT guys. This sits mostly with the IT guys. They develop the database. They develop the different entry points. They develop all of these things that help to ensure that help to ensure proper access. That help to ensure proper access to data. All right. So a number of times this data ownership role sits with IT. Now, the next role will be data stewards, right? And data stewards, their work is to ensure data quality, consistency, and compliance with governance policies. So usually they act as intermediaries between data owners and report developers. All right, they act as intermediaries between data owners and report developers, basically.
Hello, Timile. Can't hear you anymore.
Can we see me?
Okay, we lost you for a moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Now,
Hello,
organizations.
Timile. We
Now,
can't hear you now.
in enterprise levels, right? In enterprise organizations, I've also seen scenarios where what happens is that a department, right? There's a data owner, there's a data steward, and even sometimes per department, there are report developers attached to each department, right? So for instance, for an HR, there's a Power BI developer within the HR space. Within the HR space, there's a Power BI developer. Within the finance space, there's a Power BI developer. I mean, different report developers within different teams, just because of the chunk of the large chunk of data that is being generated. Remember, I said that there are some organizations that, they generate so much data within minutes, not even hour now. Per minute, the chunk of data that is being generated is large. It's very large. All right. Imagine an organization like Google. Imagine the large amount of data that would be generated by the minute. So imagine if it's just only one team, maybe like three people in the analytics team that is developing reports. I mean, that's not even going to be possible because there are different data, there are different, sets of data speaking to different parts of the organization. So I won't be surprised if the kind of model they run in that kind of organization is that there would be report developers in the different teams, right? There are also what we call Power BI administrators. They oversee the platform security. No. Oversee the platform security, capacity management, and regulatory compliance. All right. And they are the end users, of course. End users are the consumers of the reports who rely on the insights for business decisions. All right. They are the end users. So all of these are part of the policies that certain organizations put in place. All right. Part of the policies will also be to establish compliance framework based on industry experience, right? Establish compliance frameworks, right? This is very critical. Implementation of structured governance using Microsoft Power BI, adoption roadmap of Power BI reports will rely on insights for business decisions. The whole focus, like I said, is just building a framework that speaks to how data is managed, that speaks to how data is used, that speaks to who can access what, all right, and that speaks to who can use what at the end of the day, because it's very, very critical, especially when you are dealing with a large organization. Maybe small organizations would not worry about these things, but it's very critical for large organizations, enterprise organizations. That's very, very critical. Now, part of the things that is also very important for organizations as far as governance is concerned would be role-based access and security strategies. Right? I mean, I know for Power BI guys will probably be familiar with the second point, role-level security. But I mean, beyond this, right? This is part of governance. It's part of governance. And it's also assigning roles. Who has access to what? Who would not have access to what? Because I mean, if you just leave the door entirely open, anybody can access anything. It becomes a challenge, right? It becomes a challenge. Anybody can just touch anything and boom. I mean, anything could happen at the end of the day, right? So there's role-based access and security strategies, right? So that's where we define things like user roles, basically, right? We have the admins, right, who manage. I mean, these are part of governance frameworks. We have the admins who manage the Power BI settings, enforce security policies, configure tenant-wide settings, oversee workspace and capacity management, right? Especially when you're dealing with a very robust solution, right? We have the developers who create and publish the reports, right? These ones are solely the ones that are responsible for creating and publishing the reports, build the data sets, optimize data models for performance and efficiency, right? Of course, and then we have the report consumers, right, who access and interact with reports. The thing also is that you would think that, oh, because this is report consumers, shouldn't everybody be at this level? No, not everybody would even still have access to the reports. A number of times it would be just a certain amount of persons. So you would have access to these reports, and then you spool out the report. If the whole department needs it, you provide it to them. But it's very important that governance frameworks are created to manage access to data, right? So report consumers access and interact with reports, dashboard, and insights without modifying. So you see that for this set of people, for these persons, right, they can't modify anything, right? They can't modify underlying data sets or models. They can't touch it. All they can just do is, view it. All right. For the first one, the admins, of course, you see more of the IT guys there, right? More of the core IT guys. Developers, you can, of course, IT guys too, but maybe BI developers will probably function in this role. But for report consumers, right? Of course, you know that these ones have nothing to do with altering the report, have nothing to do with altering anything. Theirs is just to interact with the report, view it, see the insights, and then move on. Basically, move on. All right. So part of moving to the second point, part of the governance frameworks is to implement row-level security and object-level security to control data access. This is part of governance. All right. This is part of governance. It's all in a bid to control the level of access. except the data you are working on is not important. I mean, except is not important. But before you can interact with certain level of data, I mean, you should have a certain level of access, right? So for organizations, you will see this a whole lot. There's role level there are certain information that only the president, only the CEO is privy to. There are things like that only executive management staff members would have access to. Yeah, I mean, just even online, I mean, even available data sets. There's a particular website that I occasionally go to just to check for data, right? It's for a particular industry in Nigeria. I go there, right? I mean, you would be seeing on the summary page of that dashboard. It was built by David Brown Consulting. On the welcome page of that BI solution, you would see all the pages available that have been built into that solution, over 20. But while you are trying to click on a particular one, it won't allow you to access it a number of times because it's meant for a certain level of access. It's meant for a certain level of access, right? So, and like I said, because you value your data, right? You value your data. That's very, very critical, right? So maybe I should tone down a bit. So just because I know I've mentioned valuing your data, and I thought to just reiterate on that. The whole reason why we are talking about governance, monitoring, deployment is because data is very important. Data is very critical. I mean, data can make or mar an organization. Yes, organizations can come off, can, what's the word now? I'm looking for a particular word. Organizations can basically go out of situations that can crumble them by maintaining their data accurately. And yes, we've seen organizations also flop because they did not maintain their data accurately. All right. So enterprise organizations pay very critical importance to their data. I mean, an organization, for instance, that deals with customers. I mean, of course, every organization is out there to serve. For a B2C, for instance, maybe B2B, B2C, that you have a lot of customers' information coming into your system by the day. You don't just suddenly want to wake up the next day and then all your customers' information is out there on the internet. I mean, you've lost their trust. They won't come to you for business again. They won't come again because they believe you don't have the structure, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the framework to manage that kind of inflow, right? So I'm just making us understand why these things are very important when we speak to I don't want to use the word corporates or enterprise organizations, right? They are dealing with a large chunk of data, which is trust. I mean, when you have access to this data is basically people trusting you with something. Trust, right? So they don't just suddenly want to wake up the next day and find out that their information is all over the internet, playing around. That's a breach of trust that will make them lose business. That's even if they don't face regulatory infraction. So those things are very, very important. Now, so this is just to speak to Power BI service and Power BI report server. All right, these are two different dimensions of Power BI. Power BI service basically is a cloud-based solution, right? And it allows for integration with other Microsoft services. Power BI report server, on the other hand, is an on-premise solution, and this is usually basically very tailored towards organizations, right? It allows organizations to host and manage their reports internally, all right? ensuring compliance with strict data security regulations, right? Strict data security regulations, right? So this is an on-premise solution, and it allows organizations to manage their reports internally, all right, ensuring for compliance with strict data security regulations. I'm sure you'll have been seeing some words flying around since: frameworks, regulations, compliance. Those are words that fly around in enterprise organizations, right? Regulations. Regulations are very key. The organization has their own compliance framework, the industry they are under. So you will see that organizations don't function on their own. They are under a collective umbrella. Regulators, right? For instance, the oil and gas sector, they have regulations. They have a common regulator, right? The insurance space, there are regulations. The IT space even, there are regulations that you can't play out of. The moment you play out of them, you attract infractions. And the infraction is not just that you pay money. No, if that was, it is going to be easy. Sometimes the infraction is that you're out of business. They put a disclaimer out there, you are totally out of business. All right. I mean, I saw one play out not too far from this point, right? An organization that was doing very well went out of business. All right. So to close out on this, what are data governance best practices? Choose between centralized and decentralized governance model. All right. Certify and endorse data sets to maintain data integrity. It is also very key. All right. Data integrity is very key, especially when you are dealing with stakeholders, right? You don't want to be going for a board meeting, for instance. You don't want to be going for a board. No, let me not use board meeting. Let me use, there's a word flying in my head now. For investors, you don't want to be having an annual directors. That's not the word, but I mean, it's flown out of my head.
Stakeholders.
Thank you. You don't want to be having an annual stakeholders meeting, and then you're telling them that, oh, our total return for the year is 1.5 trillion. Meanwhile, that's wrong. And then you go back to check your system, and then you saw that, oh, it was actually 3.5 trillion. You're gone. I mean, you're because they will not trust you. Doubt would rise in. I mean, I hear this a whole lot now from the space I work in. A little mistake can be very detrimental. Stakeholders can typically lose trust in you just for a simple mistake. I mean, they've been looking at everything. They are seeing your slides. It's making sense. Oh, this is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. And then they get to a particular slide, and then it looks like these numbers are wrong. They automatically everything they've been reading from slide one. I've gone for a client meeting before, just speaking to data integrity. All right, also part of governance, that organizations put structure in place to ensure these data sets properly cleaned. You can account for. I've gone for a meeting with a stakeholder before. I had built the Power BI solution. As far as I was concerned, this was solid. I had applied all the modeling, the colors. The post done it beautifully. The post done it beautifully. And then I got into the meeting. We were seated there before the executive management came in. And then executive management came in, and it was the CEO of the company. And then he was like, oh, so what do we have here? And then I was trying to explain. I'm not sure I had done 3 minutes. He looked at the data and he said, come on, this is wrong. This data is wrong. This is not our figures. I could not see anything again. That was the end of the meeting. Go and correct this thing. I mean, he did not even bother to check how beautiful the data was, how beautiful the reports were. He didn't comment on, oh, this thing is beautiful. That was not their business. As far as he was concerned, this thing is wrong. And once he spotted an issue with data integrity, every other thing lost relevance. Right? So data integrity is very critical. All right, very critical. So we reduce redundancy by leveraging shared data and data flows. We maintain structured naming conventions and documentation. This one is very, very important too. Structured naming convention, right? And documentation. When you know that multiple people feed into a particular data source to pull data, you want to ensure that they are named properly. And a number of times, usually it's also important to have a data dictionary, all right? So that when stakeholders are pulling data from a particular data source, they understand which column speaks to what. They understand what each table is for. You don't want to go to your database. I mean, we are talking enterprise here. You don't want to go to their database that probably houses hundreds of tables, if not thousands, hundreds. And you are trying to locate a particular table. You should have a data dictionary that quickly guides you. Usually should be in a document format. So you know the document you are going to, you know the code that speaks to it. It's easy for navigation. Not just that we present you with the data and then go search for it by yourself. That's not proper, that's not best practice. That's not best practice. So that's very, very important. All right. So now let's dive into monitoring Power BI usage and performance. Right? Okay, so part of optimization, thing like this again. Sorry, sugar. Sorry. Okay. So part of performance tracking and optimization is, using Power BI admin portal to track user activity and reports performance. Of course, when you are done, you've built your report, you've done all those things, right? You want to monitor user activity and reports performance. All right, you want to identify performance bottlenecks with Power BI Performance Analyzer, right? You want to also optimize your DAX queries to improve data model efficiency. This is very important. This is very important, especially when you are talking enterprise, because you are dealing with large data. I mean, you don't want to run. You are looking at a model that probably contains, a large number of tables, and you are linking them to each other via different types of relationships. You have to optimize your DAX queries. Those are very important. The things you need to take out, the things you need to create something for, create it for it. Whatever will just reduce lag. Whatever will not even reduce, right? Whatever would make you do without lag in your very, very importantly. Those are very, very to pay attention. Now the next.
Hello, Timilane. Can't seem to hear
Power
you.
BI enables you to. Power BI enables you to. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Power BI enables us to, because it's a BI, it's a Microsoft solution, of course. So it allows you to connect with other Microsoft solutions. So you can leverage Microsoft 365 audit logs for tracking user activities, right? You can set an alert for unauthorized data access and sharing. this also still speaks to governance, right? Right, but more into monitoring now. But it's also part of governance. If an unauthorized user gets access, this should be done. This person should be flagged, and all of those things. Those are ways by which we protect data, we protect access to data within organizational settings, which is very, very critical. Very, very critical. All right. And then you can also integrate Power BI with Microsoft Azure Monitor, all right, and log analytics for advanced security monitoring. All right, advanced security monitoring. All because I'm still going to drive it, all because data is important. Because we are working with data, and data is important. Right. So I'll keep striking on that. That the only reason why organizations would go through all this stress, not mind spending a whole lot of money putting these frameworks in place, is because they value their data. All right, and they understand the importance of not joking with the data that is being generated. All right. So that's very important to note. All right, data is not just about building reports. Data is much more important than that. I like to say that data is trust, right? When somebody gives you access to their data, it is trust, right? So you have to defend that trust. You have to show them that you are capable of managing anything that they've given to you. The moment you lose that trust, it becomes almost impossible for you to gain that trust again. Okay, so also cost management, premium licenses for cost efficiency, the different plans to go on. Is it premium per user or premium capacity? And also, identifying underutilized data sets and reports to optimize storage and refresh costs. Of course, when you understand that this particular data set is dormant, is not necessarily being used, you can just remove it, right? And it helps with optimizing your storage, which eventually speaks to your costs at the end of the day. It reduces the amount you're spending on hosting your data. All right, it reduces the amount you spend on hosting your data at the end of the day. Okay, so let me begin to wrap up here. And let me begin to wrap up here. Deployment, I'll just quickly rush around this. I believe that as far as I'm concerned, the most critical part that I wanted to speak to is what I spent the first part speaking to, governance, because it's very critical. All right. So for deployment, right, you want to establish a structured development, testing and production environment. That's very important. You want to, if you intend to run continuous integration and continuous delivery, flows, that's also very important. So development, testing, production, right? Those are very, very important things that you need to build within an enterprise organization, right? Power BI deployment pipelines for efficient version control. Basically, if you need to upgrade your reports, right? You need to upgrade your reports. Of course, if it's data, that speaks to the back end, but that you also need to update your reports and all of those things. You need to effectively structure your environment. All right. Of course, you need to automate your deployments with deploying with Azure DevOps or Power BI REST API and all of any of those other solutions, basically. But this speaks to how you can effectively deploy your solution, your Power BI solution. All right. This also speaks to data set refresh best practices, right? When you're deploying your solution, right? Depending on the data you're working with, right? It would help you determine whether direct query or impact or import mode is better. right? That's very critical. Now, one critical thing that I also have seen that, if not very managed, can be an issue would be scheduled refresh, especially if you're an organization that runs on real-time data. Real-time data, right? Real-time. It's very important. I mean, organizations like an airport, for instance, right? Like an airport that, of course, you want your what's the word now? You want your passengers, those flying from the airport, they are coming into the airport, they are seeing real-time information as far as their flights are concerned, right? Part of the things that would be leveraged would be scheduled refresh. A number of times these solutions are built with Power BI, right? And so scheduled refresh will have to be effectively put in place, right? Effectively put in place, managing the gateways, anything that could inhibit the data from properly refreshing per time would have to be taken off, right? Just to ensure that, the scheduled refresh is in place, and of course, it eventually imparts the old data as a whole. Of course, you can also implement incremental refresh for handling large data sets effectively. Embedding Power BI in enterprise applications. Of course, you can embed Power BI in different enterprise applications. You can embed it in Power Apps. I'm sure we've had that before within this community. You can embed it in Power Apps, different solutions basically. All right, it just shows you the beauty of Power BI. You can put it even on the web. You can embed it in your website. You can embed it in different places, right? It will surprise you that a number of times what we see on stock exchange, these different movements, a number of times they are built with Power BI, right? So you can build Power BI solutions and embed them in different enterprise applications and solutions. Then I would end with this. Sorry, I would end with this. And this speaks to, sorry, this speaks to organizations that have leveraged the things we've spoken about, all right, to help their data. When you see Airbnb, you see an organization like Netflix, basically different organizations who did not only come up with the Power BI solutions, but also put into place these different concepts that we've discussed: governance, monitoring, effectively, and proper deployment. And it's helped them. I mean, I browsed through quickly about Netflix, and I mean, I could see that it's helped them a whole lot. Maybe you might want to just read about it. For Netflix, it helped them a whole lot. Putting all these systems in place, it helped them a whole lot. All right. On the other side would be a simple question: why do most Power BI implementations fail? All right. Of course, one thing I've seen out there is that you would barely see organizations share their failure stories. Also, that's most times what you won't see. But a number of companies have failed due to data issues, right? And you will see that one of the most times the reasons why these things fail, you see it here, is largely because of governance, right? I just needed to put this here to show us that governance is very critical. All right, governance is very critical to solutions, right? I mean, aside Power BI, not just even Power BI, right? Any solution being built, right? Governance is very critical to how it's managed, how it's deployed, and how it's maintained across board. All right, governance is very critical. What is the framework put in place to ensure how it's managed? What is the framework put in place as to how it's properly maintained? All of these things are very critical things that should be looked into. All right. So I want to hope that the little time I've spent speaking around this thing has been impactful. So with that, I've come to an end. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for listening. All right, over to you, John.
Amazing. Awesome. I can see applauses going all over the screen. Applauses. So yes, thank you so much, Simile. This was a really, really insightful session. I mean, I I think what stood out for me was when you talked about rule level security, of course, which is has to do with the governance and monitoring aspect of it, which is really awesome because you cannot do without that. You know, you don't want. You had also mentioned that you don't want your data being all over the place, and you also mentioned that to stakeholders, data is trust. I think that was actually stood out for me. However, of course, I think it's time for us for the question time. Of course, if you have any question, please kindly raise your hand and Elaine, we're here to answer every question you have. So over to you. Are there any questions? All right. So it seems like everybody already has an idea of what governance monitoring and deployment is. I mean, I believe you use Power BI at work, or maybe other softwares, of course, that relates to data visualization. You know, and I'm sure you understand that this is a part of the role level access and everything. So if there's no question, that's okay, that's fine. That means everything Timilaine said today was well understood. Thank you so much, Timilaine, once again. Yeah. So Sharif. Hello, Sharif.
Yes, John. Good
Yes, please. Is
afternoon.
there
Yeah.
something you'd like to say, please?
Well, not really. Yeah, I just feel like everything Timley has said, they are quite on point, and yeah, thank you for that, Timley. There's this short clip that I saw on LinkedIn some time ago, right, where the CEO and I think a senior manager were discussing, and then so say I can't really remember the specifics, right? So but the CEO looks like he makes maybe, let's say, $50,000 on a particular project, and he paid the senior manager $5,000, and then the junior manager earned, I think, let's say maybe $1,000, and then the intern was not earning anything. So the information leaked out such that the senior manager got to know and was not questioning the CEO and be like, so you make a whole $50,000 on this project and you are paying me 5,000? I'm just using that figure as an example, right? Yeah, I can't remember the specific figure now. And then the junior manager was not like, wow, so you get paid $5,000. I'm just being paid $1,000. And then the intern was not like, wait, guys, what's going on? So you guys get paid? you know so that's what could happen if we don't properly manage our data access, and we don't govern it carefully. So I think it could speak a lot of havoc, could wreak a lot of havoc in organizations and what have you. So yeah, so thank you very much, Timileyin. It's an awesome one. Yeah. Thanks, Joan. I think that's just what I can say.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Sharif. That's amazing. That's a good one. I mean, I had a good laugh. I just imagined it in my head and what it must have been like, Yeah, so data is very important. Whether you're in HR or you're in any industry, it cuts across every industry. In fact, right now, while we're here, we already have data. We have data of the amount of people here. We have data of the person that actually presented, So, I mean, and we had to give an access, so that even within the team space, there's different access levels within the team space, Yeah, so that's how important governance monitoring and deployment strategies are at our workplace. So, of course, once again, thank you so much for attending this webinar. This is amazing. You're going to get an email, of course, that will connect you to our WhatsApp group. That will also connect you to our social media handles, but it's just very easy. All you have to do is just type in on Instagram at DUG Lagos and you get connected with us there. You can also check YouTube as well at DUG Lagos. Check Twitter, which is known as X right now, of course, and type in at DUG Lagos. And yeah, Sherry, if you have something to say, please. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it just came to my mind. I want to, just buttress what you said earlier. That's the West African Regional Meetup for July 19. So please let us prepare our mind. So we would actually share more detail about it, as time goes on, so that we will know how it would, work out. But let's prepare our mind for that July 19 in Ghana. So that's where it will be holding. So let's prepare our mind. Whatever, you know, modalities and what we have, going on concerning that, we would definitely let you guys know. So thank you. Yeah, over to you, Joan.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, we have someone is raising her or his hand up. Abasi Freka. Yes, you go. We have 5 minutes more left in our meeting. So the question, please. Abasi Freka Udabasi. You can speak. I can't hear you.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Joanna. I didn't really get the presenter's name. I sort of like joined late because I said I had a class earlier. Um so recently I recently just got introduced to everything concerning data, enterprise data governance, blah blah blah. Sorry. And you know, prior to that, I didn't really know. All I did basically was just create dashboards. And then before I moved to my current organization where it was more structured, I know there were a lot of data owners, data stewards, I just got introduced into all of these things. And I also got introduced to role level security as well. And then I think that is one of the main reasons why I wanted to, join this meeting, to hear more about that. But I think sadly I joined late and I don't think I really heard enough. So my question is like, I don't know if there is a like basically like how do I go about it? Like where do I begin? How do I
Oh,
go about the overall level security? And when I go about it, when I'm working on RLS, like how do I know who to authorize for what, or do I need to um segment it by department? Because I feel I'm the only data analyst in my organization currently, and it's a
okay.
very, very
Okay.
big organization. And basically, that's just my question. I don't want to, confuse everyone with my question.
All right. Okay. Timmy Lane. So speaker for today was Timmy Lane. Timmy Lane, please can you answer that question? Thank you. All right. It seems like Timmy Lane is not here at the moment. Yeah. Okay. So I think what I would say is okay. Let me see. Is he back? Is he back? Is he back? Okay, he's not back. So since you're the only data analyst in your organization right now, for role level security, there's the part for the the people that just do the reporting. I think, okay, let me put it this way. I think this is something we can discuss about in camera, if that's okay, right? Because it has first is to understand what your team is about, right? And then understand how you can also apply the RLS in your organization. So what you're going to be the access that will be had that you give to yourself, of course, won't be the same access you give to somebody that is just reporting. It won't be the same access you're going to give to even the decision makers in your organization. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Please, you can speak up if I'm on the right track with you.
Yes, I do.
Yes. So I think we'll have to have a discussion outside this, so we can just help you see how you could structure that. I mean, if that's okay. Hello.
Yes, that's okay. Is there like did was there anything like is there like a video on how to go
Yes,
about
of
it
course. So this
generally?
is going to be saved up on YouTube, right? This particular session is going to be on YouTube, but this is mostly theoretical. So for the demos, of course, I think you can YouTube as well. You can see resources that can help with that. But we have a WhatsApp community. Okay, you'll be added to that, and then you can now speak to one of us. Okay, or even two of us. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I love
You're
that. Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah. So when you get the link to the WhatsApp, please join and then put it out there so we remember, and then we can schedule something. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. This was a really amazing session. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for even taking time out of your busy schedules to see how you can level up, and push your career. This is amazing. I love seeing when people can just push. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm doing this, another thing to learn something new. And every day is always an opportunity to learn. Let's not forget that. Nobody's a total expert in the field. In fact, sometimes we usually crack jokes here at DUG and say, every day Microsoft has released a new updater. We talk about this all the time because you have to learn something. There's always something you have to learn. And then whilst you're learning, of course, you're teaching others as well. And so it just goes on and on and on. We want to see that people are well informed. We want to see that people are doing great. So yeah, thank you once again for attending. We love you. Thank you for everything. We'll see you on the WhatsApp group. Just going to quickly say hello. Abasi Freke, Aduola, Gabriel, Kike. I mean, those of us are here. Olajimetu Samuel, Oluwakayode Samuel, Timi, and of course the organizers. Thank you so much, Sherry, Femi, Toby, Tosin, and myself. So yeah. Thank you so much. Until next time, next month, we're going to be having another webinar. So we have webinars every month, and we're going to have a physical event just before July. So stay tuned, okay? Once again, I'm Jonah Chiku. See you in Lagos. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.